Hi, on the Woodpecker today I'm going to show you how I made this plaque to decorate the front of the live edge top of the fireplace I did a few weeks ago. In my last episode, you saw me making this not too bad fireplace live edge top. But I found that it was missing something. It was too drab. I've decided to make this exterior scenery plaque that can be stuck to the front of the skirt. To make it removable, I use rare earth magnets. After finding the center of the front, I clamp it to the CNC table. With the lines I've burned, it's quite easy to align it straight to the x-axis. Next, I verify that the x and y zeros are at the right place. Since they are, I set the z0. Then I fire up the CNC and drill the holes for the magnets. Okay, it's true that if I had used my drill press, it would have taken less time. But I wouldn't have been able to cut the plugs that will go inside those holes. When they're done, it's time to cut them loose using the scroll saw. Here's how this will work. The holes are at the back. The front is super nice. Inside each hole, I'm going to put a magnet. So if I use another magnet on the other side, everything will stay in place just like that. To make this work, I put a magnet in every hole. Here, I have to be careful to put them on the same polarity. As you can see, it is. If you're asking yourself how I know that, well, on these magnets, they are a mark on one side. Now it's possible to glue the plugs in place on top of the magnets. Then I just need to wait for the glue to dry before flushing the plugs with the board. Now that the work on the skirt is done, I need to take care of the actual carving. I bought a lot of exterior STL sceneries. In fact, this is the one I was interested in. I will carve it. The first thing to do is to prepare a piece of maple. When I have two sides straight, I can screw this to the CNC table. After zeroing the bit, it's possible to cut the holes for the magnets. This is perfect. You can also see one of the back aligning hole right here. Now I need to cut the matching pair on the wasteboard. In those holes, I insert a small length of dowel and use them to align the front side of the plaque. After screwing the maple to the table, the carving can begin. This will take 2 passes. In fact, this is the first one, the roughing pass. But let me tell you how I made this. After creating a working space the size I want, I only need to import the STL file I want to carve. Here it is. But it's way too big compared to the red bonding box, so I scale it down. But I want more relief than that. So I uncheck the uniform scale and make the model 16mm thick. The last thing to check is to be sure the carving will be where I want inside my piece of wood. Then I can import it. But when I see it in the program, I'm very disappointed. As you can see, we can see all the facets of the model. No, I don't want to carve this. But I'm not too worried because in Aspire, there's a sculpting option. In this option, we can smooth our model. I use this function to smooth out all the facets. Just by choosing a different brush size and passing everywhere I want to smooth out, I managed to make something that I would like to carve. This does a great job, but it's not very fast. But it's faster than making this from scratch. Okay, I'm not going to clean it all up here, and I will continue. Now that the model is to my liking, I need to trace around it. Luckily, there's also a function for that. But if I look at it a little bit closer, I can see small holes in the center. Nah, I don't want that. So I ungroup the trace, deselect the outside, and delete the small holes. I end up with only the exterior contour. This is great. The next thing to do is to place the aligning holes. The dowels I'm going to use are 1/2 inch, so I entered 0.5 times M and press the equal key. This transforms inches into millimeters. Now I place 2 at random places, select them, and copy them on the other side. Then I can take care of the back. As you can see, the 2 aligning holes are already there. But I need the holes for the magnets. My magnets are 1 inch in diameter, so I convert an inch into millimeters and make a circle dead center. But I want 3 of them, so I copy the circle 6 inches on the right side and with a negative value, copy the other one on the left. Now I'm ready for the tool paths. The first thing I do is the pockets for the magnets. Not too difficult. I just need to select the circles, input the cutting depth, check that the router bit is the right one, give a small ramp at the beginning of the cut, and that's it. Those are the first holes. I mostly need to do the same thing for the aligning holes, but this time the holes are 10mm deep. It's now time to work on the visible side. I begin with the tool paths of the aligning holes. In fact, it's the same thing that I've just did. And I'm finally ready for the magic. The carving tool paths. After selecting the model and the outline, I click on roughing tool paths. I make sure I have the right bit selected, that I have a good allowance, that I also have a small starting ramp, and that's it. This is what the roughing pass will look like. This seems fast like that, but in reality, it takes 1 hour and 20 minutes. But it's far from being the final product. I need to do the finishing pass. This is done with a 0.5mm diameter ball nose bit. This is what the CNC will cut. If you're asking yourself how long this will take, well, it's just about 18 hours and 40 minutes. But it's not totally done. I still need to cut the carving out of the board. This is quite easy. I made the cut around the outline I made before. I also add 6 tabs to keep the carving in place. I have to move them around because the program didn't put them where I wanted them to be. And the computer work is done. I just need to save this and go to the CNC. In fact, it's what you've been seeing for a while. But I'm not totally done at the CNC. I also use it to burn the date. The long part is done now. I need to cut the tabs. The ideal tool is, again, the scroll saw. the most satisfying part is when I can hold it in my hand. I'm super happy. But there's a lot of fuzzy stuff here and there. I remove them with a brass brush, followed by a pointy tool. This looks a lot like what the dental hygienist does, except for the blowing part. After blowing compressed air, I'm super satisfied. But there are some burn marks here and there. I remove them with rasps and sandpaper. Finished! I only need to apply some varnish. For that, I use my airbrush. It's not very fast, but at least I don't apply too much varnish. It's easy to spray just the right amount of varnish in the small thousands of holes without filling them with varnish. I let it dry for a couple of hours before spraying a second coat. The very last thing to do is to glue the magnets in place with epoxy glue. Here, I'm super careful to glue them the right way. No, it's not the right time to goof anything up. This was how I made the removable outdoor scenery plaque for the gas fireplace of René's niece. I hope to see you next time for another episode of The Woodpecker.